Hey everyone, it's Miss Spencer. Today we're going to be dividing whole numbers. We'll be focusing on 3-digit by 2-digit division and 4-digit by 2-digit division. Today we'll be able to divide whole numbers using the partial quotient strategy. Let's start with some vocabulary. Here we have 254 divided by 12. The first number represents our dividend. This is the total number of objects we have that we'll be splitting up. The second number is our divisor, is the total number of groups or parts that we're going to be splitting these objects into. Remember with division that we're putting the objects into equal groups. Our answer to a division problem is known as our quotient. Let's start by dividing 254 divided by 12. We're going to start by putting our dividend, which is 254, inside, and we're going to put our divisor, which is 12, on the outside. Here we're going to start by looking at our biggest place value, which is the hundreds place. We have two hundreds. I know that I can't split two hundreds blocks into 12 groups. So I'm going to be looking at the tens place. I have 25 tens in my number, 254. So that means I have 25 tens rectangles. I know I can split 25 tens rectangles into 12 groups. What I'm going to do is I'm going to list my multiples of 12 until I get close to 25 without going over. 12 times 1 is 12, 12 times 2 is 24, 12 times 3 is 36. 36 is already too big, so I'm going to look back at the second multiple, which is 12 times 2, to get 24. 24 is the closest number to 25 I have without going over. But remember, we're not trying to find 25 ones, we're trying to find 25 tens. So instead of multiplying 12 times 2 ones, we're going to be multiplying 12 times 2 tens, which is 20. So 12 times 20 is 240. I'm going to write 240 underneath 254, and I'm going to subtract. 254 minus 240 is 14. Now I'm going to be looking at the tens place. I have one tens rectangles left. I can't evenly distribute one tens rectangles between 12 groups. So now I'm going to look at the total number of ones I have. I have 14 ones left over. 14 ones can be distributed into 12 groups. I don't have to keep rewriting my multiples because I can see that here 12 times 1 is 12, which is closest to 14 without going over. So I know that I'm going to be multiplying 12 times 1 to get 12, which is as close to 14 without going over. 14 minus 12 is 2. Notice our 2 here is smaller than our divisor. So that means the number left over, when it's smaller than a divisor, is our remainder. I can stop dividing and I can now add 20 plus 1. 20 plus 1 is 21, and then our remainder is 2, which is what we have left over here. 254 divided by 12 is 21, remainder 2. Let's try another one. Here we have 3,927 divided by 13. We're going to put our dividend inside the outline and 13 on the outside because that's our divisor. Now we're going to be looking at the 3 in the thousands place. I'm thinking to myself, 3,000 blocks. I can't distribute 3,000 blocks between 13 groups. So I'm going to be looking at hundreds. In my total number, I have 39 hundreds blocks. I can distribute 39 hundreds blocks into 13 groups. I'm going to start by listing my multiples to see which gets me closest to 39 without going over. 13 times 1 is 13. 13 times 2 is 26. 13 times 3 is 39. Oh, that's the exact number I'm looking for. 13 times 3 is 39. But remember, we're not looking for 39 ones, we're looking for 39 hundreds. So I'm not going to multiply 13 times 3 ones, I'm going to multiply 13 times 300, which equals 3,900. Now I can subtract, and I see I have 27 left over. I'm going to look at the 2 in the tens place. I can't distribute two tens rectangles between 13 groups. So now I'm going to look at my total number of ones. I have 27 ones. I can distribute 27 ones between 13 groups. I don't have to rewrite my multiples. I can already see that 13 times 2 is 26, which is closest to 27 without going over. So I know I'm going to be multiplying 13 times 2. 13 times 2 is 26. When I subtract, I have 1 left over. 1 is less than 13, so I know I'm done dividing. I can go ahead and add the numbers to the right. 300 plus 2 is 302, and then remainder 1. 3,927 divided by 13 is 302, remainder 1. Lastly, let's divide 3,198 divided by 15. We're going to start by putting our dividend inside the outline and our divisor on the outside. Now I'm going to see that we have 3 thousands blocks. Well, we can't distribute 3 thousands blocks between 15 groups because we don't have enough thousands blocks. So we're going to be looking at hundreds. In our total number, we have 31 hundreds. We can distribute 31 hundreds blocks between 15 groups. So let's start by listing our multiples of 15 to see how close we can get to 31 without going over. 15 times 1 is 15. 15 times 2 is 30. 15 times 3 is 45. Ooh, 45 is too big. So let's go back to 15 times 2, which is 30. That's as close as we can get to 31 without going over. But remember, we're not trying to find 31. We're trying to find 31 hundredths. So we're not going to multiply by 15 by 2 ones. We're going to multiply 15 by 2 hundredths. So 15 times 2 hundredths is 3,000. We can go ahead and subtract since we have 198 left over. Here, we have a 1 in the hundreds place. We can't evenly distribute 100ths block between 15 groups. So we're going to look at the tens place. In our total number, we have 19 tens. Well, we can distribute 19 tens between 15 groups. We can see here that 15 times 1 gets us closest to 19 without going over. 15 times 2 is 30, which is too big. So we're going to be multiplying 15 times 1 10 because we're looking at 19 tens. 15 times 110, or 15 times 10, is 150. Now we can go ahead and subtract, and we see we have 48 left over. So now we're trying to figure out here that we have 4 tens rectangles. That's not enough to distribute between 15 groups, but we can distribute 48 ones between 15 groups. So let's see what closest multiple of 15 we can get to 48 without going over. Here, we've added 15 times 4 to our multiples list and see that we have 60. Well, 60 is too big, so we're going to be focusing on 15 times 3, which equals 45, because that's the closest we can get to 48 without going over. So here, we're going to be multiplying 15 times 3, which is 45. We're going to subtract and have 3 left over. Remember, when the number at the bottom here is less than our divisor, we know we're done dividing, and this leftover is our remainder. So 3 is less than 15, so 3 is going to be our remainder, and we can go ahead and add up the numbers to the right. 200 plus 10 plus 3 is 213, and our remainder is 3. 213, remainder 3.